How's it going? How's it going? Um, I'm gonna be discussing a different topic today. This is gonna be something different. Before I even get into the discussion, well, the discussion is gonna be about my story. This is gonna be a telling of my story, a telling of what Isaiah Raw has been through. So let's just dive into it. I want to start off by saying, number one, I am not human. Let me just address that from the jump. I'm not a human. I am not from this planet. I've come here to assist. I've come here to assist. Those who know will understand what it is I'm trying to say because I can get into detail, but I'm going to get into detail later on in the video. But with this, I want to address my story and what seems like the randomness that is who I am and the complexity of which who I am. So, growing up, we'll start off from the jump. Growing up, I grew up in a single parent home, one mom, seven other siblings. I'm the oldest of all of them, and me and my siblings, we have a very diverse and different. We all look different. We all look different, but you can tell we're all from the same home just because of the way we carry ourselves. But with those characteristics, we all are very much very different people, and I believe, not even I believe, I know there's more to it than that. And this is where I'm going to start getting into the more interesting things. So with my whole story, recently, beginning of this year, I had ran into human trafficking, and I had a lot of altercations with that, dealing with the people, dealing with the type of people who deal with that, dealing with the type of people who deal with motherfuckers who speak about what they do, who try to tell on them. It was a whole spiel. It was a lot of paranoia, a lot of motherfuckers coming after me, trying to kill me. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was genuinely a lot. And with all of that, I didn't understand why I was being shown it or why it was something that was even I was even called to take action upon. And this is because it hit close to home. When I first saw these kids being trafficked, I shed a tear when I saw this man in the woods with these kids alone and no one was around, and I didn't understand why I was crying. And the reason why I was crying is because I saw myself in these children. I realized that these children were me. I grew up around a lot of different people. I've seen a lot of different people. I've been in a lot of different people's homes, houses, cars, a lot. I'm one to be very open to strangers. I'm very open about communicating to strangers. I'm very open just being around people who are different. This is because in my childhood I lacked the sensitivity of watching who, not me watching, but the people around me watching who were directly around me. This I did not understand until I saw this human trafficking stuff, all these kids getting moved around, and understanding that there's way more to it than I think. And that's when I understood I was involved in it. I was also part of this. I wouldn't say I'm a victim, but I would say I am a victim of these type of situations. With these situations, I want to define trafficking differently because what I've gone through is not your generic sex trafficking, though there were parts of it that were in there. It's not your generic going about it. Being that I exclaimed earlier, I'm not from this planet. I come from a different place, and the way I came upon this planet was in a different form. Majority of people are born from a womb. I was not born from a womb. I came from the earth. I came from the earth. I was born from the earth. And that's because I'm a different being. I'm a different entity. I couldn't directly be born because there's no vessels that could handle what my energy is. There's not a creature alive that can handle who I am in this vessel and what I've become and what I'm going to become within my vessel. That there's nothing that could hold my soul energy other than a divine creation of a divine being. And with that, I realized when I was meeting these kids in the woods with this man who was moving them around. They were explaining to me how they remembered their past life in certain locations. Like in the forest we were at, I understood that this forest had used to be in a building. It used to be a building. It used to be a whole castle. The whatnot. This is Sutro Baths Park in San Francisco. I'm talking about. When we were over there, the kids were pointing out how they remember seeing a castle, how they remember seeing this, and remembering their past lives. With that, I understood that I've always had this recollection of my past lives growing up as a child. I've understood that, hey, nigga, there's more here than what we think. And it's like, well, where are you getting this information from? And I'm like, well, I remember it. Like, I remember these things. Like, how do you guys not remember? Like, y'all don't remember? Weren't y'all here? And that's because, again, I'm from a different time. I haven't been on Earth in a very long time. And with me being back on Earth, I volunteered to be part of this ascension because I understand that there are things that need to be done. And I understand that there are people who will not execute these things because of the traps that are set up in our reality. But more into what it is that put me in these situations and what the trafficking actually is. I didn't even actually define what the trafficking is. So the trafficking is, when I looked up what trafficking is, and it's just being held against your will, being held and moved around to different locations against your will. You're not willingly and acceptingly, or you're being coerced into taking actions that you don't want to do. And genuinely growing up, like how I explained earlier, I've been around a lot of strangers. I've been in a lot of strangers' homes, this and this. I've been in a lot of situations where I felt very uncomfortable, very unsafe where I was. And this is due to my mother bringing me to certain strangers' homes. Not even that, other relatives taking me to certain strangers' homes, certain relatives being around me, creeping on me throughout my life, which was something I didn't understand. I thought it was just something that I thought it was just okay. But with that, I grew up with a more sense of sexuality, confused in my own mind, confused in what the world is, confused on what's around me, because my mind is saying the people I'm living with are not my family. The people I'm living with are nothing like me, and the people who I'm living with are trying to actually hurt me. Not saying my younger siblings, but I'm saying the adults I was around were trying to actively hurt me. And this would go to show in situations where when I got older, around 19, I was being forced out of my home with no ability to support myself. My mom, she took everything I had. She took my car. She didn't take my money. I just didn't have money. I wasn't working a job. But she kicked me out, and I had to just scramble. And with that, I didn't understand what was happening. It was like I was being teased. And even before that, like even leading up before that, my mother has always been very abusive. She's always been very physical and very mentally abusive, which is something that's always been extremely harmful on my personality, because I'm a very charismatic person, and I've definitely outgrown the damage it's done. But it is genuine damage that has been done, and I feel like this is something that I should be sharing because, maybe somebody out there has also been damaged in such a way. With that, I know I'm going all over the place with this. It's because it is a hard topic for me to discuss, because it's one of those things where I'm still trying to piece together the parts myself, but I know these parts are real because I've interacted with the motherfuckers who are really about keeping these things hush hush. And when it comes to keeping these things hush hush, when it comes to me not even being a human, your traditional sense of what human is, your traditional sense of what a person is, me being that, I stand outside of the boundaries. So when it comes to being outside of the boundaries, again, like I was saying earlier, I'm an alien. I'm not from here. And part of that, I wanted to, when I first got kicked out of home, I didn't understand what I was doing. I was lost. I was confused. I was couch surfing. I went back home a few times, got kicked out, went back home, kicked out, went back home, kicked out. I'm back home again, but before I get into why I'm back home again, I'll tell you what happened leading up to this. So leading up to this, and this is what also led to me discovering the trafficking stuff. Leading up to this, I was staying at my grandma's house, and I didn't know where to go. I felt like I was trapped, and I was desperate for an opportunity. An individual, this is a person I thought was a genuine friend, had hit me up, like, hey man, like I got a place for you, you can stay. I was staying with them. They had a new job. They were helping us coast by. We were all doing good. I was supposed to find a job originally. I knew I wasn't gonna go find a job because I knew I didn't want to work. I knew for a fact I didn't want to work a job, and there's a reason behind that. And this is because I was proclaiming myself as a king, which I genuinely am a king, but there's a reason why I give myself this title. It's not just proclaimed. It's just there's more to it. There's genuinely more to it. There's more complexity to what I am. There's more complexity to what my origin is than just me proclaiming things. When I proclaim things, these are knowings that the universe has affirmed to me, that has said, you can speak this out loud to awaken people to who you are. And that was actually really well spoken. I really like the way I put that together. But where was I at? All right, back to me leaving my grandma's. I stayed with these people in Oakland for around 3 months, 3 months. Stayed with them in Oakland. Ended up being homeless, and from there, like, I ended up leaving their home because it shit that I don't want to get into. It's just stupid shit, but it's not the good lore. It's not the good lore. The good lore, I mean, this isn't good lore, but it's more interesting lore based off of the topic. But the actual lore is when I left these people's home, and then I moved to San Francisco, and I was staying in a homeless shelter in San Francisco. I would still go back to Oakland because my heart is in Oakland. It's such a beautiful place. And if you disrespect Oakland, fuck you, eat a bag of dicks. That place is beautiful. Even atrocities out there are beautiful. Like, don't shame the beauty and the struggle. Like, don't shame the beauty and the struggle, genuinely. But being in San Francisco, I was living in the Tenderloin in a homeless shelter. When I was out there, I genuinely was just like, you know what, God, let's see what you got. Before I ended up in the homeless shelter, I was sleeping outside for about a week, and it was genuinely because I was like, I don't know what to do with my life. Like, not that I don't know what to do with my life. I was like, I don't know what direction to go. I know what I want to do with my life. I just don't know how to get there. And so I was just sleeping outside, giving out smiles. I was just like, I know being around people makes me happy, so I'm going to focus on being happy. And that was genuinely my whole goal when it came to being homeless. I was like, man, I was at a point when, this is when I was 18. I was at a point where I was genuinely so depressed, and I thought I had everything I wanted. I didn't have anything I wanted, but it was the stuff other people were telling me I should get. I didn't have anything I wanted, and with that, I was very miserable. I was genuinely very miserable. I was going to school. I had my own car. I was working a job. I was having friends and stuff like that, but none of that stuff was fulfilling. And it made me realize, I'm like, okay, well, I told God, I'm like, hey, I will let you take every single thing from me if you can make me happy without it. Like, if I can find peace without any of these things, I'm down. Like, I'm down. And I went for that journey, and I did get my reward. I genuinely did get my reward. And from getting that reward is when I launched into my next adventure, which was living in a shelter. I also had the dream of being a superhero. And with this, I didn't understand what was going on in the shelter. It's like, you don't know what you're looking at until you know what you're looking at, and then you can't unsee it. And with the shelter, it was like a halfway house. It was like a brothel, even. We're very, from the ages 18 to 24 of youth, homeless youth, who stayed there. There were a lot of young women and young men who would stay there, and a lot of other people who were hired to be there just to make sure that these young men and women who are coming to this place aren't saying anything about what they're doing, because what they're doing is very illegal. These people were moving drugs, these people were moving guns, these people were moving people, and these people were also surveilling people as well. They were doing a lot of, not even just that, witchcraft as well. These motherfuckers are very, very, very into that, very crafty about that shit too. I've dealt with a lot of spiritual attacks dealing with these motherfuckers, man. It's been rough. It's genuinely been rough. It's been a battle. It's been a fight. But let me get into the details of what exactly transpired. So within the first 2 months, I didn't see anything going on in the shelter. It was just, I just saw it as, well, these motherfuckers are just miserable. Like, and for good reason, because I was motherfuckers, man. I was miserable in there too. But I was like, hey, I don't have to stay in here. I can go. I'm in San Francisco. Like, I've never been in San Francisco before. So fuck it. Let me go on hikes every day. Let me stay out of the shelter. And that's what I genuinely did. I tried to stay out. I tried to stay out of the shelter because it was a very negative space. Not even just that, but the Tenderloin in general is a very negative space. And what I learned about San Francisco and just very negative cities in general, that fog, that darkness that comes over the city in these places, it's not a natural fog. It's not a natural fog or darkness. This is genuinely a link between the underworld and the physical realm. They've linked both realms through to the vibration. The vibration is so low that it leaks into the underworld, and the things of the underworld can come up to the physical realm, because now they have it's literally like connecting the lands. It's like you push two countries together and we're like, oh look, we're next to each other, I can come across you now. It's like, imagine Pangea reversed. Imagine Pangea reversed. So that's what was happening in San Francisco, the Pangea reverse, being that the darkness was in the physical. And so with the darkness being in the physical, this is when I'm seeing people the homeless people all around the city, they start disappearing. Why are they disappearing? These vans start popping up, people in tents getting shot up. I can literally hear gunshots, literally doo 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 doo, and then no sirens, no nothing. I hear bombs going off, boom, literally shake everybody in the city. Everybody I'm hanging around, everybody's like, nigga, what the fuck is that? You never gonna see nothing on the news. And not even just that, but it's people being hurt, and not even just people being hurt, but these people are being moved to hide the fact that there are so many homeless people. It's easier to move a dead body than it is to move a live one that wants to kick and scream. And so that's what they do. That's what they genuinely do with a lot of things. And when I say they, I mean higher ups. This is when I'm talking about the motherfuckers who really are about what they say they're about. These are the people who I'm talking about. Like the people who are the world leaders who are genuinely like, nah, man, we gonna make these motherfuckers miserable. And they genuinely do it. These are the people I'm talking about. And they have a really good job. I'm not gonna lie. They do their job very well. We gotta understand that they do their job so well because we allow them to do their job so well. That's why. Nobody's speaking up about what's actually happening. And so let me explain more about what's happening. So not only were they killing and moving a lot of homeless people, they were drugging these people too. They were giving these people new drugs to test. These people started bending. It's like it was a transition. It went from people just on fentanyl to people literally bent over, hunched over, could not stand back up. I didn't understand what was happening because I knew what fentanyl was, but I didn't understand that they were introducing new drugs. And not only that, but I met other people who would tell me, hey, we're in the shelter, but these motherfuckers are in here watching me. There's this one woman who was in there who would consistently yell and scream and explain to everybody that she was being followed, that she was being trafficked, that she had been dealing with these type of things her whole life, and it was one of those things that she could not escape and she could not find help for. And I genuinely sat there and listened to her story because it was one of those things where everybody else in the shelter would tell her to shut up, this and this. They didn't want to hear nothing. But I was like, well, she's screaming for help. Why is nobody listening? And so I sat down and listened to her, and genuinely she had a lot of stuff to say. She had a lot of stuff to say about what was going on in the shelter. She explained to me that a lot of the people in the shelter were not just homeless people, but she explained to me that they were also traffickers, that these people were following to see who knew what, to see who was about to say something and who was going to try to get these messages out, which they did not want to get out, of course. And with these people, they usually handle them in their own ways. They usually go about and be like, hey, we're going to get you a room. And then they kill them. And then we hear about these people overdosing off of drugs. And this is the one motherfucker who did not touch any drugs ever. But now this motherfucker's deceased because they did fentanyl. And it's upsetting to know that these people run these organizations, run these help centers to make sure they capture these people. Not even just that, but as I'm going through my adventures and I'm seeing what she's talking about throughout the city, because as she is explaining these things to me, I have people who start following me. As soon as I go outside, I'm being followed. As soon as I go back inside, I'm being followed. This is me at 4 a.m. Like, it's not 4 a.m. right now, it's 8 o'clock. But I'm saying at 4 a.m., like in the shelter, I'd be up, couldn't sleep. I'd go to the bathroom just because, gotta go piss. if I went to the bathroom, there were other people who followed me to the bathroom. It didn't matter how long I was in that bathroom taking a shit. They were in there until I left that bathroom. They were in there until I left. And same thing with other places, other locations I would go to. It got to the point where I was being followed so much that if I walked down the street, I kept switching sides of the street because there were people behind me, people in cars, people everywhere, just surveilling me. And it got to the point where I was like, oh nah, man, I can't do this. And it was one of those things where it's hard to believe until you actually see it. And luckily at that time I did have other people in the shelter who I was friends with, who I felt comfortable enough to be around and share my experiences with them and tell them like what was going on. And these people also exclaimed that, hey man, we see what's going on and we agree this shit got us tweaking out too. Like we're all bugging out because this ain't no way this is really happening to us. And genuinely it was scary. Like genuinely it was scary. It was one of those things where it shook me so much that my trust for other people it's very minimal, but I'm very open to it. I'm very open to trusting others, but I'm not going to say I will leave that door too wide open. It's like I'll always open the door to trust an individual, but I will never swing it all the way open. But with me just saying that, let me gather my thoughts. What else happened? As I was being followed, not even just that, not as just me being followed. I did get a lot of attention for just the things I was saying, because not only was I examining the things that other people were telling me about the darkness that was happening. That's usually never my topic of conversation. That's usually never what I'm focused on what the darkness is. I'm more of enlightening people. And so that's usually what my topic is. And I met a lot of people who I've just given wisdom. I've just sat there and told them, hey man, this is this and this about you. Because the thing is, I can read minds and I can read a person instantly. And I could tell them what they need just based off of their energy, because they subconsciously speak to me because I'm something higher. They understand, their subconscious, their soul understands that I'm something higher, and they trust me. Even those who oppose me come to me and speak to me in ways that they don't understand, is telling me directly what it is that's going on in their mind. But they have to tell me. They have to tell me because they understand that I am authority and I came to do something different than what has been done before. With that, I gained a lot of attention. I was on a podcast and I met an individual who tried to get me to fly out to Michigan with him. I knew this motherfucker for 3 days, bruh. 3 days. Got me on a little podcast with him. We named the episode White Rabbit. Wait, was it right? That's my podcast episode, White Rabbit. But I was on another podcast with this individual and one of their friends. And while I was talking to them, I was having a fun time, but they had made the point of the things you're saying. Are you ready to die behind these things? And that's when it shook me. That's when it told me, I was like, something's off, because I know for a fact if I'm in my highest vibration, bruh, I'm not going to tell you're going to die from anything. I'm never going to tell you're going to die from being authentic, because authenticity isn't death. Authenticity is authenticity. If anything, authenticity is life, is proof of life. And faking that would mean you don't want to live, and I don't fake my authenticity, and I wouldn't want to tell anyone to fake their authenticity, because it does not equate to death. Not being authentic equates to death. That's genuinely what it means. With that, this kind of spooked me. Because later on I get text messages, like the person I was on the podcast with and wanted me to go to Michigan with them, was telling me, hey man, I got an extra ticket, this is in this to go to Michigan, let's go. I'm like, nah, I'm solid. And then they're like, oh, it's all good, I'll text you this person, or text this person, gave me a number. They're like, oh, talk to this person's name was Lee, and exchanged information so they could be on a podcast. I texted this number to talk to them, and because I was interested, I was like, well, what is this about? Like I would love to do another podcast episode. At the time I didn't understand what was happening, but I enjoyed what I was doing. So I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's go for another podcast episode. I reach out and I text them and they text me back, and it got to the point where I was like, something feels off. It just feels off, and I just didn't want to text him back because I was like, because I already got red flags from the other dude. I was like, yeah, you gotta be on some opposition shit, because why the fuck is this being rushed? And I know if anything's being rushed, if something's being like, hey, we gotta go, that means, hey, bruh, something's up. It means something's up. Something's in the air. And with that, I knew something was off. I knew something's off. So when I understood that something was off, I stopped texting that number. And mind you, this is within an hour of a conversation. I stopped texting that number, and that number continues to text me. But this number continues to text me information I'm not asking for. It's telling me about, this person was telling me about bombings, shootings, assassinations on politicians, and it made me really uncomfortable because I was like, hey, nigga, I don't ask about none of this shit, and this isn't even the shit I like talking about. This isn't my stilo. This ain't my shit. And so they were like, hey, whatever information you want to know, like, let's just throw it on a podcast, let's shoot the shit and get to it. And with that, it's like, I understand when people are trying to assess what information I have. They want to assess what information I have and how I get my information and what I do to get that information. And majority of the time, I'm not going to lie, I get a lot of information from up there. And it gets jumbled in my brain, and I sit with it, and I'd be like, it's very emotional. It's very emotional energy. It's very intense. And not a lot of people know how to, like, feel their emotions and understand their emotions. So it's like, this is something that not everybody can get, because a lot of people will never sit there and just be like, you know what am I feeling? And so when I feel these things, I'm like, what am I feeling? And it draws me to the information. And so with this, I've always been drawn to the information. Well, there you go. There's my ability. I just told y'all how I do it. So it draws me to the information. And with this, with me being drawn to the information, this is also part of the reason why I was drawn to living in the Tenderloin in San Francisco. I found out that by another individual that there were people in there spying on me, that were people in there with bounties on me. He was telling me that there were people in here who were getting paid to just watch me. There are people in here who are getting paid to hunt me down. Like, when I go outside and there are cars waiting for me, this isn't a joke. Like, this isn't a, like, small thing. This is a big thing. This is something that a lot of people were in play with. And it's something I didn't understand of how big of a scale it was until it ramped up. And so by this time, this is when we're getting close to when we're back to the human trafficking I had spotted. So with this, I paint and I do a lot of other things. I can't tell you exactly what I do because I'm being told not to. But I can channel information through my paintings. And so when I'm painting, I understand that there are things that I may know. There are things that I may not know that may show up in the painting, just subconsciously or not even subconsciously. But if in the ethers, I'm grabbing the ethers and just being like, you know what, I'm going to paint with you. Because I don't understand too much about the technicalities of painting, but I know I enjoy painting. And I enjoy the process of just abstract. And the thing is about the abstract art is that it's not just abstract. One thing I started noticing about my art is that it's telling me things about my future, present, or even my past. Like, it's genuinely telling me things about what's going on right now. And I saw this as a form of fortune telling, which it genuinely was fortune telling. Still is a form of fortune telling if you know how to tap into your abilities. And so with this, I was manifesting the future I genuinely wanted to have. I was like, I want my dream to come true. And so for my dream to come true, I need to manifest these things. Whilst manifesting these things, I understood that I was getting things. Like, I had 4 notebooks full of paintings that were helping me manifest. Specifically, just to release emotions and to get to from point A to point fucking F. Like, I was trying to skip steps, and I did skip steps. When I did this, I was seeing things in the paintings that genuinely made me uncomfortable, just uncomfortable emotions that would pop up in the imagery as well. So just different colors I would be drawn to that I would use in my paintings would honestly give me scares at times, because I was like, well, what does this mean? And there's a time where I was genuinely like, well, I want change. I want change. And so I needed to act on my change. And to act on my change, if you genuinely want things to change, just be like, now. Just say now, and then you'll get the ability on what you need to do next to make that change happen. And so that's what I got. And so when I was ready for that now, I was guided to going to where was I guided to go into? Oh, to the beach, just to ground, because I wanted to ground to cleanse my energy. I didn't know that my journal, and I not even just that, but I also wanted to take my journals with me to release them into the ocean to give back, because I released the energy in them. I use this to manifest, and so I'm like, I want to give this to the ocean to grant my blessings, because that's, if you don't understand, the ocean is genuinely a pool of blessings. If you know how to use energy, you're always going to be drawn to the ocean. Why? Because there's nothing but free energy coming from there. Infinite amounts of free energy coming from the ocean. And the reason why I went to the ocean is because I always feel drawn to the ocean because I can speak to it. I have conversations with it, and it's genuinely a peaceful conversation. It's very healing for me. And so with that healing, all these healing properties of the ocean, I was drawn to it to release these blessings that I was wishing to be granted. I didn't understand that this was about to be my next canon event. I didn't understand that this was about to be the moment where everything that I had been seeing was about to link together. And it still links more in the future. But all of these things were about to link. And so as I'm at the beach, I'm releasing my emotions. I'm screaming, I'm yelling at the water because I just want to get all this anger and hate out of me. And so I had to release it. And with that, I released it. I felt amazing, but I noticed that there was getting a lot of attention. See, with me not being human, I'm like a solar flare. I'm like the sun I'm like the sun stepped on the earth. So when my energy heightens, the environment around me feels it very strongly. It's like gamma radiation, but not lethal. It's just like, it's extreme high vibration. It's extreme high vibration surrounded around me, and it pushes out everywhere. Like it's so much that it will push the sky open. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. Genuinely, it's sick as fuck to see. Like it's sick as fuck. Like, I can make the brain stop and shit. This shit's fun. But with me being able to do that, I was getting a lot of attention by other people around, and I've always known that I get a lot of attention for the abilities I have, because again, not everybody has abilities. And so the men in black, this is what I call them, the men in black, they pop up and they follow and they see what I'm up to, because, well, I'm doing shit that not everybody can do, and majority of people don't know what they're looking at. Like, they see waves happening, but they don't understand the motherfucker standing over there is the one making the waves happen. But if you know what you're looking at, you see it. And these people, of course, know what they're looking at. But I started to leave the beach because I was like, too many men in black here. Too many men in black. They're doing too much. I released one of my paintings out to the ocean, and I didn't keep, not one of my paintings, but one of my notebooks. I didn't give out all of the notebooks to the ocean because I wasn't drawn to give out all of them. I was just giving out the red one. It was red colored because it was my frustration and rage that I did not want to keep inside of me, because this is a shadow aspect of myself that I genuinely fear because of how destructive it can be depending on its use. I don't like to be in my destructive nature, but I know when I'm in that nature, it's destructive. It's genuine chaos. Like, I can turn into the chaos element. I don't think chaos is exactly an element, but imagine that state is pure just chaos. And it goes beyond just me acting physically. Like, when I'm in a chaotic state, there's more happening around me than just what's inside. And this is what a lot of people do understand about my abilities, is that it plays a role in things that I don't even understand it plays a role in. And so with that, because this is a long story, I'm not gonna lie, this is a long story. We're getting into it. I hope you're really enjoying. I'm pretty good at storytelling, and I do bounce around a lot, so I still think you're enjoying it. I feel like you're really enjoying this. All right, let me get back into the story. So we're leaving the beach and we're chilling on the bench. I'm looking at one of my notebooks. It has an arrow drawn in it. Not even just an arrow, but it kind of looks like the sky. The sky that was in front of us that day. It kind of looked like the sky, and I had an arrow drawn in it. And I was like, Moana's the recipe, because I was watching Moana when I had made that painting. And when I was looking at it, I saw the arrow in the sky. I looked up in the sky, and it was an arrow directly pointing in a direction. And then when I look at the next page, it's a little doodle that I made with it. It's another painting, but it's a little doodle, and it's got like a leaf guy. I call him a leaf guy, but it's like a little plant dancing, and it's pointing at like it's some trees on a hill that I drew. Understand? I didn't know why exactly I drew that, but I knew I drew it, and I was looking at that, and I looked at the next page to where the arrow, like I'm looking at the arrow pointing in the direction, because I'm looking at where the sky is. I'm like, it's pointing that direction, and then there's trees on a hill that it's pointing at. There's genuinely trees on a hill that it's pointing at, and the trees that are on that hill are waving back and forth extra hard, but only those trees on the hill. The rest of the trees on like that land area, it was not windy. It genuinely wasn't super windy that day. It was just those trees were waving, and I was like, guys, I think we're being told to go over here, because I wasn't over here. I didn't go to the beach alone. I went with the beach. I went to the beach with a couple of my friends as well, which genuinely very happy they were there too, to experience what I saw. I'm not gonna name their names because there's a reason why I'm not telling the story. I'm not saying everything. I don't want them to get hurt. I know I got protection, but I'm like, I don't want them to get hurt. You feel me? And so, when we go over to the trees and stuff, we're like, oh, this is just a cool view. We're looking over the water and stuff, because from that hill we can see the water, and it's very beautiful. It's Sutro Baths Park. This is like right next to the park. It's like adjacent to the park. And while we're standing there, I look at the next page, because I'm trying to understand what the next page is trying to tell us. And the next page doesn't really have imagery. It has the colors purple, blue, red, pink, but overlaid in black. It's like black streaks across. These are all streaks. They're all streaked out, but black is across all these streaks. And then there's an orange streak across all of that as well. Like it's layered. And so the orange layer being the last one. And I didn't understand what it was until my friends and we went to part of the forest. Like we went deeper, and I keep calling it a forest. It's really not a forest, but we went deeper into that little forest area, and my friend got a weird feeling, was like, nah, man, like I don't feel like we should go over here. I'm getting bad vibes. Like the forest is telling me don't come over here. And I'm like, motherfucker, I'm me. I'm me. So the forest is telling you not to come over here. I'm definitely going over there. I'm definitely going over there. And that's exactly what I did. I went to where the eerie area was to find very eerie things. I found a totem. In front of that totem, it was like, I would say a buried body. I would definitely say a buried body. Definitely something was buried. Something was rotting. It smelled horrid. It did not smell good at all. Very uncomfortable smell. And there were flies all around it. And when we look around the area, it looks like very, I wouldn't say dystopian, but like witchy. Like the trees, the way the trees were set up, it's like these branches were bent and put in certain orientations to look a certain way, to do certain things, which I understood were portals or ways people were being created on the planet. Like other entities were being manifested on the planet. And I understood this because next to ocean energy, I understand that. And those who are into the dark arts understand that you can exchange certain things for certain things, and their children you can exchange for better things in your life. And again, a lot of rich people do understand this because they are part of this. A lot of business is built off of this. Genuinely, a lot of business is built off of this. My bad, I got a eerie feeling. Definitely being watched right now by spirits as well, but they're not. These are good ones. They're looking out for me. They're just here to listen. But as I'm talking about this, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this is very intense. This is like me reliving this shit. But my friends, they have a bad vibe. They don't feel comfortable over there, and so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna listen to y'all because this place is very eerie. This gives me sickness. This gives me ick. Like, yeah, we can bounce. And so we go to another view, which is part. It's like still on the same hill, but just a higher part of the hill that we went up, and we're still looking over the water. Like we go to look over the water, and there's a little bench. We're sitting on the bench looking over the water, enjoying our view. And then we see this white man walking up with these two black boys. The thing is, these black boys, one was, I would say, Native American. I said Native American, but that came off my brain. I mean, yeah, I'm going to just say Native American, and the other one was African. I'm going to just remind you, these are two types of blacks. Natives are also black. Africans are also black. These are two different types of blacks. There's very two distinct different types of blacks. But these two boys, they were with this older white man, and I was like, what y'all doing out here? I didn't say that at first, and at first I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, because I was like, you know what, maybe he's not creepy. Maybe he's just with his adopted sons in the forest, by himself, going up to that weird totem thing. But when he comes up the hill to where we are, and he looks at me, and he's like, I mean, before I even look at him, I shed a tear because I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, something's off. And then there was a ladybug that was next to us that went and hid. And I was like, nigga, that ladybug hid? I'm like, what the fuck could be approaching us? And the person, he walks up to us, and I look at him, I smile, and he's like, oh, we're just going to look for a castle. As soon as this motherfucker said, we're going to look for a castle, red flag threw up in the air, waving back and forth saying, hey, bruh, there's something wrong. There's something genuinely wrong right now. And with that, I was like, oh, shit, I got to do something. And so I was like, hey, let's go to the castle together. And so the boys that were with him, they were excited. Me and my friends, we hop up. We were getting ready to go to the castle with them. And we're exploring the forest, and we walked through the part that we felt a bad vibe through. Like, we were like, man, this motherfucker's out here sacrificing motherfuckers over here. And this is where the boys were passing through. But the boys are explaining to us that this used to be a castle, this used to be a castle, this used to be this. And I understand the history of San Francisco. I understand there was a war. There was a war in San Francisco. We always see all these military bases in San Francisco, but we be like, who the fuck were they fighting? It's like, who the fuck were they fighting? Let's think about that shit, bro. We got all these abandoned military bases out there, and these motherfuckers weren't fighting nobody. Let's be real. Them niggas were fighting somebody. But I knew what that building was. Because I looked at the stones of that building, and I didn't understand why the stones were so strange. They looked like bricks that were melted down, and that's exactly what they were. They were bricks that were melted down that now looked just like rocks. They look like igneous rocks, but genuinely are not igneous rocks. Those are bricks that got melted down from high heat, which were part of those blimps. They could beam shit. It's like, it's not hard to genuinely make technology that can burn, like can melt rock, and to put it on something that you fly in the sky and go to war with it. It's like, come on, these motherfuckers got us. Like, they got us. But I understood that place was a mansion. I understood that was a castle or something. I knew that place was something more than what I had been previously told. And these kids also understood that. And with them understanding that, they also were explaining to me what happened. And I'm like, wait, you guys remember? And I'm like, you guys remember what this place was? And they're like, duh. Like, obviously, we lived here. We used to live here. And that threw another flag in my head, because this is another red flag, because I'm like, if you guys remember your past life living here, I know for a fact you cannot just go about in this city. You can't just walk around through the city, because you're gonna start pointing out what everything in this city is. And not even I'm gonna get into it, but the children, they didn't even know how to read. These children didn't even know how to read. These kids are 7 and 8, and they can't read at all. Like, they can't read at all. And these motherfuckers apparently lived in San Francisco their whole life. I'm not too sure about their whole life situation, but Let me get into like back through us going through the forest. As we're going through the forest and the kids are explaining like what everything is, and mind you, this is all like foresty. Like they remember what it is looking at it as a forest, and they end up going. We end up leaving the forest, entering the Sutro Baths Park. When we're in the Sutro Baths Park, we're looking around. The man who originally was with us, he went and came up to me and my friends. It was like he shook my hand. Was like, all right, you can go now. But when we first got up to the park, there were a lot of other people, other older white men and even older white women up there. All had sunglasses on, waiting. They were waiting for him. And originally, when I first popped up, like he was walking in front of me. Him and the kids were walking in front of me, so they got in front of me. They are the first to be shown, like to see, like for their faces to be seen at the park. Like for you to turn around and look, oh, they're people. Like you can see them before they see me, and so they started getting them attention, and I pop up behind them, and all the people that started walking toward them in their direction immediately beelined in the other direction, like full 360 went another direction. And not even just that, but these people hovered. They hovered the entire time I was there. And I went to talk to, not even I went to talk to. I followed the kids as they were going up these stairs, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna do anything. Like I'm not gonna not follow these kids until they get home. Like I'm not gonna not follow these kids until they get home. Even if I know these people are with the wrong people, I'm like something in me says I cannot just leave these kids. I can't just leave these kids because I know what's happening. I know something bad is happening to these children right now, and I'm about to be a witness, and I'm not about to sit here and stand and say nothing. And so I follow. We go up these stairs. If you know Sutro Baths Park, there's stairs because it genuinely was an old castle. There's these stairs you can go up to get to the top of it, and as I'm letting the man and the kids walk in front of me up the stairs, there's a man who meets him at the top of the stairs, looks down, sees me right behind him, immediately turns around. And with him immediately turning around, it's because, well, shit, somebody's here that's not supposed to be here. And I don't know why this motherfucker's here. There was a lady sitting on the bench. She had her head down. She's just sitting there quiet. She looks up, sees me, gone. Immediately gone. Out of there. And the kids are still looking for the treasure. They're like, well, we're on a treasure hunt. Like, we're going to see a castle, but we're on a treasure hunt. And we get to where the kids claim that the treasure was, and it's on top of this, like, bunker. And, not on top. I mean, the clues for where to get the treasure is on top of a bunker. And when you look at the top of this bunker, it's spray painted all little stuff to give the kids hints and stuff. And you would think this is just mindless people spray painting. Like, this is nothing but just graffiti artists having a little fun in a little spot. This is not that at all. What I thought was just harmless fun for graffiti artists was genuinely an organization of people making messages to give to children as clues for the scavenger hunt, which I had no idea how many children were put on the scavenger hunt before this. I just knew that this stuff had been here for a while. They were looking for a space kitty. That's one of the things that were on, that was spray painted on there. Not even just that, but it also Realm 1. And when I read Realm 1, I understood that this was a gate. This was some type of gate. This was some type of portal. There's something here that is not normal, that should not be here. I mean, it can be here. It's just, it shouldn't. Yeah, genuinely, it shouldn't be there, and it shouldn't be used in the manner they were using it. And with that, I understood something was up when it read Realm 1. Not only was something up, I mean, I knew the whole time something was fucking up, because the fuck was going on out here. But we're looking at the clues. My friends are sitting there saying, hey, bro, there's something wrong with this. Like, these kids don't know how to read. Like, these kids don't know how to fucking read. We're trying to explain the clues to them. These motherfuckers don't know how to read. Not even just that, but not only do the kids not know how to read, but one of the kids, there's this big black door to the bunker to get inside, and we didn't have a clue on how to get inside, but the kids were there to go on an adventure to go inside to find treasure for a castle, from a castle. So they had the idea, not even idea, but they had the knowing of, well, are we gonna go inside or not? And their kids were asking me, they were like, "Do you have the key?" And I was like, "I don't have the key, but this is a big black door, and it has a master lock on it." And so, being that it was a master lock, I understood this is being used now. This is still being used. This is a pretty clean door. Like, this is a pretty clean door. This is a pretty pristine door. This is still being used. And as we're looking at the front door of this bunker, one of the children who's standing next to me, he goes up to touch the door because he's like, "Well, we need a key." And he goes up to touch the door, and he's like, "Whoa!" "Whoa!" He said, "I just had really bad chills go down my spine." And when he said that, I also had the same chills go down my spine. I was like, "Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I definitely feel you. It's definitely eerie over here. Definitely bad vibes. Definitely bad vibes. This does not pass the vibe check." And with this not passing the vibe check, I was like, I gotta do something. I gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go. It's time to go. But with that, the man they were with, he acted like he didn't understand where the key was, even though I knew that motherfucker had the key. I knew his ass had the key. But he was like, "I don't know where the key is. This isn't this. It opens from the inside." And I'm like, "It opens from the inside? How'd you know? Like, how'd you know it opens from the inside? There's a master lock on there. Like, I don't know how they open that shit up." And he was like, "Oh, you can just tell. You can just tell." And I'm like, "Oh." But to further that, to fast forward, we follow the kids and the man home. He starts screaming, "Leave me alone! Get the fuck away from me! This isn't this." The kids, they're scared. They're running off with him. One of the kids, he turns around. He's mouthing, "Help me." He's literally telling, like, "Help me." Like, "Help, help, help, nigga, help." And I'm like, "Oh my God." "Oh my God." I'm overwhelmed. I was like, I'm overwhelmed. So they end up going to a home. They go inside. They go in the garage. I call the police and stuff like that because I'm like, well, I'm gonna call the police because something's up. Fast forward, the police come. They knock on the door. The man never comes back outside. A woman answers. They don't even go. They don't even open the same entrance. They didn't go. It's not the same door being answered either. You never see the kids again. The kids don't even come back outside. The police, they go up to the door. They're like, "Oh, the lady said that's our kids. This is and this." And I'm like, "You're not even seeing the kids. The kids aren't even coming outside. They didn't even come to the front door. Neither did that man. That man never even came back outside. You're trying to tell me those are his kids?" And the police also went and told my friends that the man was autistic. And that shit, I'm not gonna lie, all of that shit set me off because it got to the point where I was like, okay, I don't understand what this is, and I don't understand why y'all are doing this, but I understand that this is wrong. I know something is wrong here, and I know I cannot sit here and be just about the wrongness that is happening, and so I must speak. And with this, I understood that if I speak on what's about to happen, or not what's about to happen, if I speak on what's happening, there's gonna be some type of backlash. There's gonna be some people who don't like that. And I understood, hey, I'm supposed to go against the grain. I'm supposed to rub motherfuckers the wrong way. And I sat on it for a day because I was ready to go back that night and just break everything in their city. And my friends high-key calmed me down. We're like, "Hey, bruh, like, we can't do that shit in their part of town. They're gonna get us. We gonna end up in jail and shit. We gonna get fucked up. Like, it's not gonna go well for us." And I was like, "Bruh, we gotta do something, though. Like, we gotta do something." I'm like, "Nigga, I'll burn this place to the ground. Like, I will burn this whole place to the ground." Like, genuinely, I was in that type of timing. I was like, we gotta do something. And my friends are like, "Hey, bro, let's just go chill. Let's go sit on this for a second." We go sit on it. It's whatever. I'm chilling with myself. This is the next day. I can't sleep. I didn't even sleep that night. Like, I didn't feel comfortable that night. Like, only thing is on my mind is, nigga, these motherfuckers just got away with that shit, and the police are involved, and I can't do nothing. And it got to the point where I was like, nigga, I refuse to not be able to do nothing. Like, I refuse to not be able to do nothing. And I understood that there were people in the shelter who that I was staying at who were following me. And not only just that, they were following me because of what I had saw. Because they had like, usually the people who follow me, they stay pretty far back, and they don't usually make themselves known. this time I'm on the phone with my family asking them, hey, bro, what should I do? Like, there's some shit that happened. I didn't even explain to them what went down, but I'm telling them, I'm like, hey, man, there's some shit that happened, and I'm getting signs that I got to do something. And they're telling me, like, my family, they're telling me, they're like, hey, bro, if you're getting signs saying you got to do something, it means you got to do something. You only get that call once. And is you going to pick it up or you just going to let it ring? I'm like, shit, nigga, I'm going to have to pick that shit up. And as I'm on the phone with them discussing these things, I'm in a LGBT center, the LGBT center, SF LGBT center in San Francisco, big ass purple building. I'm in there and I'm sitting there on the phone with them, and I notice this lady keeps walking in the room with me. Like, I'm in a different room on purpose so people aren't listening to my conversation. And I notice this lady follows me into this room, and there's only 2 seats in there, and I'm like, well, shit. Well, I don't want to sit here and say all of this shit in front of this motherfucker, bro. And so I go into the other room to, like, look for snacks and just get out that person's face, because I was like, nigga, I'm on the phone. But that lady follows me into that room, like, where the other room I went to. And so I was like, well, she's not in here no more. And that room, the room I was just in, no more, so I'm going to go back to that. Go back to the room I was just in. I'm just on the phone. She comes back, and I'm like, all right, let me go see. One more time. I'm like, one more time. Am I tweaking? I'm like, am I tweaking? One more time. Let me see. I hop up, go back to the other room. Follows me. She still follows me. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, I see what's going on. I'm like, this. I was like, oh. This individual right here is watching me. This individual right here is following me. And with that, I was like, oh shit, if I'm being followed, if I'm being watched, that means the people who are part of my shelter also know this information. And so those are the people I went to go confront. I was like, you know what? I made my decision. I'm going to answer the call. Like, literally, that girl fucking following me back and forth literally made me be like, nigga, I'm going to answer this shit. Because this bitch think I'm fucking stupid. She think I'm fucking stupid. She think I'm not really about that action. She think you're going to fucking intimidate me. And so I was like, nigga, I'm about that fucking action. I'm about to show y'all right now why the fuck I'm not human. And I did. I genuinely did. And I go back to the shelter. And at that time, I was doing a lot of magic in the shelter because I was having a lot of disputes with the individuals in there from the things I was doing. Just from me being myself, genuinely made them uncomfortable at times because of what I can do and what they were actually there to do. It's like, what I'm doing is just being me. They're there to stop me from doing that. And I was like, I don't even understand. But I knew these motherfuckers they kept fucking with me. I kept having dreams about them. I had dreams about them trying to shoot and kill me. And then literally seeing that dream happen IRL, and then being like, hey, bro, we got to go. And telling my homie we got to dip. And then a fucking all black car, or not even just all black SUV sitting there fucking following us down the street. I'm sitting there like, nigga, what the fuck? Them niggas was about to shoot that bitch up. And even before that, I was having premonitions of motherfuckers shooting that shit up. But that's getting ahead. So I go back to the shelter, and because I was having disputes within the shelter about what other people were doing, about what was going on, a lot of the staff had asked me, they were like, hey, like, how do you, earlier in that day, they asked me, hey, like, how do you know, like, how do you open your third eye? How do you see with your third eye? This is in this. And so I went back to the shelter, and I explained to them. I came to them because I got all my little stuff. I got all my paintings and stuff because I was like, I know I'm going to be on a mission tonight. In my head, I was like, I'm going to go buy a bat and going to go tear up their city. Like, I'm about to go tear up their part of town and call it a night and go to sleep. Literally. I was like, nigga, I'm finna get arrested in the morning. I don't give a fuck. But shit, it's whatever. That's not what... Oh, my bad. That's not what happened at all. That's not how it went down. What ended up going down is I went in the shelter. I went and explained to these people. I was like, hey, look, if you really want to understand how to see with your third eye, I'm going to show you what bad energy feels like. What you understand is bad energy. And I was like, when you get the thought of somebody wants to kill you or you want to murder people, I understand that that's not your thought. And I explained to them who the people who were thinking these things were, who the people who were trafficking were, who the people who were moving guns, who the people who were eating people. Yes, motherfuckers were doing cannibalism in there. A lot of them were doing that shit. A lot, too many of them were doing that shit. I will say that. Too many of them were doing that shit, which was not okay. And you can read that in their energy because I don't eat people. And so when I smell someone eating people, it's like, motherfucker, what are you eat? What are you munching on? What are you munching on? You got different energy inside of you. Like, you're munching on something different. And with that, I went and told on everybody. They were calling their people. They were like, as soon as I started telling on them, this is and this, which is, I was only telling on them to themselves, just telling them, hey, bro, I know what you're doing. This is and this. I ended up I finished my conversation with all of them, and I was like, you know what, I'm out of here. Peace out. About to go buy some weed. About to roll a blunt. About to call it a night. See y'all. Went to go get some weed. Hopped on the train. Mind you, cities start dying. City slowly starts getting empty. And so I'm in Oakland. Cop in my 8th. Hop on the train. Hop back on the train. Hop back to San Francisco. When I'm back in San Francisco, I'm on Market Street. Mind you, this is a Monday or Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday, 8 p.m. Outside. Nobody's outside. And I did a little video on my phone, but my phone's broken. I did a little video on my phone. I'm recording. I'm like, look at this whole city. It's empty. Where are my people at? When I was saying where are my people at, I was originally addressing the homeless people they used to sleep on the streets out there, because I'm saying those are my people because, motherfucker, I'm homeless. Where are my people? Later to then realize there's actually nobody out here outside. Where's everyone at? Like, where is everyone at? Only people walking around were these people in all black. These people wearing all black and with a red umbrella. A lot of red umbrellas. And before, like the day before, I had also talked to my friends. I was like, what do you see when you see a vampire? Like, how do you know a vampire is a vampire? And we're like, well, black and red. And literally, as we're on the van, we literally drive past a guy saying, like, he's the Antichrist, this and this. And I was like, whoa, that's a trip. Vamps. Okay, that's what a vampire is. And mind you, this night, everybody either had on all black or black and red. There were some people in these orange bomber jackets, but black and red. No normal people outside at all. And I didn't understand why. I was like, I don't understand why. I didn't understand why. I was like, oh, y'all are here for me. But I didn't understand why it was at this scale. I was like, I don't understand why y'all going to this scale for one individual. I'm like, y'all could have been just, like, if I really am just one measly person, why didn't y'all just body me like that? Like, I'm like, y'all could have just got it done. Y'all could have just got it done. Y'all clearing out the whole city. Y'all getting the whole city cleared out. Not even just that, but y'all are using police cars. Y'all are using vans. Y'all are using... Fuck, where'd that motherfucker go? You saw that moth? No, it's flying over there. But y'all are using police cars. Y'all are using vans. Y'all are using buses. And mind you, the whole city, imagine city cars, but the entire city's empty now. And the only cars that are driving are buses, charter buses, police cars, vans, and U-Haul trucks, and white trucks. Like, these are the only cars driving around now. It's like it went from normal cars to none, and it got so quiet that I could hear my own voice echo throughout San Francisco. Like, I could yell and it would project throughout the city. I could hear it echoing through the whole city, and it freaked me out because I was like, where the fuck is everyone at? I'm like, where's everybody at? Where's everybody at? What's going on? And at this moment, I didn't text my friends. I did text my friends, but I believe that there was something going on to make sure they weren't involved in it, because if they were involved, they would have probably been hurt, or I would have been hurt due to me trying to protect others in that way. And so this was a solo mission. I was outside dealing with these people by myself, and when I noticed that there was no one on the street, I noticed that I was still going to smoke my blunt. I was like, nigga, I'm still going to sit here and smoke. And so I sat there and smoked, and I noticed that there were people piling up at the bus station in front of me. And mind you, the bus is running, but nobody's getting on the bus. The bus is running, people are getting off the bus, but they're standing at the station. They're getting off the bus to just stand there. And so it got to the point where I was like, okay, I know these people are here for me. And so I'm yelling at them from where I'm at. I'm like, hey guys, I see you. I'm coming over there. And they're looking at me. And so I'm like, you know what? I hop up and just run over to them because I'm like, I don't want to scare y'all away, but I'm coming to y'all. And so I ran up to them and I'm talking to them because I'm like, well, hey guys, well, what bus are y'all waiting for? When are y'all leaving? Because y'all, it's just been more of y'all motherfuckers stockpiling up. And the lady answers, she says, we're waiting for bus so and so. This bus had already passed. I had been at this like across the street for a minute, and I'd been paying attention to what buses had passed. That bus she had mentioned had just passed. And she explained, she was like, oh, no, that bus didn't pass. And I was like, wait, there's like 15 motherfuckers over here. You're speaking for all of them? You're all getting on that same bus? And literally I said that, and then everybody got quiet. And then I'm like, well, I know it's you. I know it's me y'all are looking for. And I'm like, my name is Isaiah Raw. Make sure you tell whoever's in charge, Isaiah Raw. Let them know. Please let them know. Like, because I'm coming for your ass. Like, I'm actually pissed right now. And so I go back. I didn't go back. I start walking toward the shelter, and I'm just yelling my name because I'm like, well, I'm about to call it a night. I'm like, I don't really got the energy to sit there and go buy a bat. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Nigga, I know how to do magic. What the fuck am I going to go buy a bat for? I'm not going to go buy no fucking bat. I got superpowers. What the fuck? And so with that, I'm like, well, I'm going to just terrorize their shit with my powers in. And as I'm going through the city, I'm speaking in tongue. I'm being channeled through, like genuinely being a very, very, very strong channel. And like low-key invincible in this channel. Not even low-key, I was invincible in this channel. I'm living to tell the story. I went through, I'm walking through the city, and there are people, again, all black. I'm walking through a certain part of the city, and there's people huddled up. All these people huddled up. It's like 30 motherfuckers huddled up. There's police cars pulling up next to me. There's vans pulling up next to me. I'm like, all right, something's up. And then I'm walking, and I hear a whistle. And I'm like, in this moment, I'm like, I don't want to be paranoid. I'm going to just act like nothing's happening. And then I hear another whistle, and then I hear a bunch of feet start moving. And then instantly, I was like, yeah, I'm not tripping. Let me get out of here. And so I start running off. I start running to get away because I wanted to get to there's a building in San Francisco. It's the Capitol building. If you know, you know. I tried to get to that building. Very important building. Very, very important building. If you understand what that building is, it's an energy center, but not even just that. If you are tapped in, you can do anything with that building because it's consistently tapping into the heart chakra of that city. It's tapping into the heart of the San Francisco area. And I'm going directly toward there because I was like, I know I'm going to be protected. I know if I can get to there, my gods, everybody looking out for me, aliens, ancestors, everyone looking out for me will protect me. And so I'm running to there. I have police cars driving on the sidewalk trying to cut me off. I have people chasing me. I got other cars trying to get me. And I finally get to the center of the building. I didn't get to the center of the building, but I get to this dirt area that's in front of the building, which is centered in front of the building. As I'm standing in this dirt area, I knew this is where I'm going to have my little showdown. I have all these cars swarming me. I have police cars driving on the sidewalk. No lights on, no flashing, no nothing. Just car in it. All these motherfuckers. I'm not going to lie. This is when it got the scariest and the most intense. And this was probably part of the most fun I had as well. I'm not going to lie. This was very scary, but it was the intensity of it got me. I was able to be myself. And this is part of the reason why I'm like, guys, I'm not human. I'm not like what you guys think I am. And with this, I ran to the center and I start singing. I start praying, I start dancing. I can sing and dance and fight. Like, I don't need to actually touch you physically to fight you. As long as I'm singing and your ears are open to my sound, which your ears don't even have to be open to it. Your body is open to it. you forget vibrations travel through more than just your ears. They move through your body. And it's like I can shake your insides to the point to where it's like, bro, I can't stand anymore. But and I only had to do that because, bro, these motherfuckers are literally trying to traffic me. Not even just trying to traffic me, but this is what I was explaining. I say these motherfuckers are trying to traffic me. I genuinely don't understand what that shit is. I don't understand what the fuck happened that night. Like, I understand that I sat there, I sang, I danced, and I meditated. And I put my paintings out on display as well, because I know my paintings also, they have superpowers inside of them. And I knew that was also going to protect me. And part of that, I was protected. I was genuinely protected. I sang, and these people came and approached me. They circled around me, which was actually insane. Seeing, like, in real time, motherfuckers come and circle you like hyenas getting ready to pounce on some prey. Like, I don't know. I really don't know how to explain what the fuck happened, other than there were people circling me, but they could not get to me. Nobody could actually touch me, and this left people huddling in literally not huts, but there was a glass like box that you could go through, and hold on, give me a second. It's not, that stuff's not relevant to the story, but there were genuinely a lot of people. This is just me trying to explain the scale of it. The point of it was there were a lot of people trying to get me, and a lot of unmarked vehicles, and a lot of scary things were happening in this moment. And it was for about 2 or 3 hours. I was outside dealing with these people trying to come and get me, but it got to the point where they gave up. Genuinely, they gave up. They stopped. And this is one of those things where I try to explain to people, and they're just like, well, they stopped. Why'd they stop? If it was so important, why didn't they get you? And I'm like, this is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm something different than what these people can perceive or even harm physically. Like, I'm something different that I'm not the one to set off. I'm the bear. Like, I'm the bear. This is poking me is poking the bear. And it's like, I'm given the strongest. It's like, this is, all right, let me take my time. All right, where I'm going to go from this is just, I'm going to go back to me being in that situation. I ended up, they stopped, and then the trains, I guess, let everybody off of the train. It was literally hundreds of people coming out off the train as I was still sitting there singing, because I'm like, I want to protect me, and I'm not only just singing, but I'm screaming for my fucking life right now. Like, don't fucking touch me. Other people came out, and then that's when people started hearing me sing, and were like, they were saying like, oh, they were cheering me on, like hearing the song and cheering me on. And then I was like, okay, now I know I can stop. And I ended up going back to the shelter, and when I went back to the shelter, I was extremely paranoid, and everybody who saw me go back into the shelter were genuinely amazed as, how the fuck is this motherfucker still alive? Like, I thought we got his ass. Like, you're telling me we couldn't get his ass? Who the fuck is this nigga? And that's when I started finding out that I'm more than what I think I am. Like, I knew I was more than what I knew I was, but that moment sealed it for me, because I was like, I should have been dead. I should have died. I did die, not in a physical sense. A part of me did die during that, but I should have died. Like, in that situation, I'm like, I should have died. I should have lost my life. Why didn't I lose my life? And it's because I have a greater mission here. And part of that is sharing stories like this. I have to share these experiences because there are very dark things that are happening in this world. And I just want to proclaim before I carry on with the rest of my story, because again, this is a long video. We're already an hour in. And if you're entertained, genuinely love that you're entertained. These are true events. These are not, if anything, these are sugar coated. I genuinely wish I could tell you the nitty gritty, but I'll probably have to make a movie or some shit about that shit, because there's no way I can explain it in a way that you can visualize it, because it's too much. It was too much for me to even be in. It wasn't too much for me to be in, but it was genuinely too much for me to hold on to exactly what happened, because a lot of things transpired after that as well. So this one I want to proclaim before I even get into the rest of the video. To those who are hearing my testimony right now and think that they are going to do something about what I have to say, I want you to know now, I'm not the one to play with. And I want you to know now, I don't deal with mercy. This isn't a I will go easy on you. This is a I will wipe you. I will wipe you from existence. This is not a joke. I will not touch you, but I will make sure you get touched. I'm not going to send people after you, but you will have motherfuckers coming after you. Genuinely. This is not a joke. This is not something that I'm even playing about anymore. This is one of those things where it's like I've sat on the sideline for too long. I've acknowledged that these things are present in reality. I've acknowledged that these things are present in life. And I've acknowledged that I have a role in making these things not happen. But I have not addressed you guys in the way that I need to address you. And this is just for those who are going to continue watching this video, just for the fact that they need to know what I have to say. And the fact that y'all need to know what I have to say, and this is like the fact that y'all need to know what I have to say is key right now, because what I'm going to say is there is no going back. What has been done is done. I genuinely wanted to say, like, you have the option to stop or do better. But majority of these people will not stop. And so I'm just going to exclaim to you, you will be wiped. You will no longer exist in this realm. Do you understand? This is not a game. This is not a joke I'm trying to play. I'm dead ass. I'm extremely serious. I've sat on the sideline for too long and witnessed too much, and I've been inside of it for too long for me to say I'm okay with this. I am not okay with this, and genuinely, if you approach, I will hurt you. If you approach, danger will come. I will bring danger. I will bring chaos. And it's not the chaos you will ever be able to manage. Trust me on this. This is not the fight you want. But if you still want to fight, I will not fight you. I will annihilate you. There's a difference. There is a big difference. A fight is when two people are going back and forth. We're not doing that. This is one-sided. If you raise a blade to me, if you raise a blade to others, you will be wiped. We are trying to build a new world. To build that new world, we must command what needs to be done. If you can't get with the program, you will be erased from the program. Imagine your body going through a disease, going through a sickness. The cells that can't sit there and fight, the cells that can't sit there and provide the nutrients, the virus inside the body is getting wiped. It's not staying in the body. It's being wiped. And this is the analogy that's going to happen with the planet. The earth is our body. If you cannot get with the new program of the earth, and I'm talking to you from the Most High. If you cannot get with the new program of the earth, you will be wiped. You will be wiped. This is no joke. This is no joke. This is when I'm genuinely using my authority, and it's not I don't like being this type of individual where I have to this isn't a flex on my authority, but I have to invoke my authority because you guys don't understand, nor do you guys listen. You guys don't listen, nor do you guys understand. Therefore, I have no reason to trample you. Therefore, I have no reason to even go back and forth with you. I will just erase you. The Most High has killed their people. Understand that. I am sent from the Most High. I am balanced divinity. And to be in balance of that divinity, You have to have the light and the dark. Understand that I am willing to kill you. Understand that I am willing to hurt you and the people you love. Understand these things because these will be played into action. If you are hearing these words, you have no excuse. And if you don't take heed, like I said, you will be annihilated. This is no joke. This is not a game. This is not a joke. This is not funny. Nothing is funny about this. Nothing is funny about what you have done to the earth. Nothing is funny about what has happened on the earth. None of this is funny because the people are not enjoying what's happening. The people aren't enjoying the fruits of what's being grown. Therefore, your dominion over this realm is nil unless you can come into program with everybody else here, which is trying to make things better for ourselves. If we can't come together and unite, motherfucker, you gotta go. And that's a fact. I can't deal with people like you. There's places for people like you where the Most High is gonna come and help you out. I'm not that person. I'm the person to usher in the new shit. I'm not Jesus. I'm not anybody else. I'm not any other historical leader you think I am. I am myself. I am Isaiah Ra. I came here to be on a different mission. I came here to fill a different purpose. And I understand that I've been given the executioner blade. And I don't like using it. I don't like using it. I don't like using it at all. But understand that's the reason why I've been given this blade. Because I know when it needs to be done. And I know what needs to do. And this is not a joke. These are not laughing words. These are serious. And for the people who have threatened me, and the people who have gone after me, and the people who have sent people after me, count your fucking days. Genuinely, if you can't shift into a new way of thinking, you will be gone too. This is no joke. This is no joke. I can't play these games anymore. You're hurting too many people, and for these people to have something better happen for them, you can't be here. This isn't an eye for an eye. This is not an eye for an eye. Genuinely, this is I'm going to war against anybody who's going to stand against the new order we are going to establish, which is peace and justice throughout our world. This is handling wealth in a way that actually makes the people wealthy. Life, spirit, and mind. If you cannot make people healthy with the things you are doing, or even make yourself healthy with the things you are doing, again, you will be eradicated because you're not thinking about the whole. Because you're not here alone. You're not on this realm alone. And if you think you're in this realm alone, I beg you reevaluate that. You reevaluate that because you will be shown what it is like to genuinely be in a realm alone. It's not going to be pleasant. That's what I have to say for those people who don't understand. My bad. I had to get into serious mode. My bad. It's some motherfuckers I had to deal with, bruh. And so fast forward. I'm back home. I was in the psych ward, dealing with the people because, all right, let me fast forward. Or let me backtrack before I get back home. So I was in the psych ward. When I was in the psych ward, I went to the psych ward because I was painting on the walls in the homeless shelter that I was in, because I was addressing, again, the things that were going on in the shelter, and I was telling them that, hey, even the people who want to hurt me, they're getting to the point where they're actually getting fed up with this shit too. And so they're getting to start working with me. And if I'm going to get these motherfuckers to work with me, bro, you going to need to hand me the keys. And understanding that, like, property isn't what you think it is in life. You think, oh, you need money to buy a property. Genuinely, motherfucker, if you stole a property and you made up the paperwork, which again is the entire Constitution and the U.S. system, is stolen shit that they made paperwork for and said that they own it. If you make that paperwork, or if you know the people who can make that paperwork, you can have free land, you can have free shit. You can have buildings where you don't charge any of your people anything. Why? Because you can afford to carry that building. Why? Because there's more shit at play here. There's way more shit at play here than you think. With that, I was trying to demand the keys for the building as well. And when I ended up in the psych ward, I met an individual who was a clone, who was telling me about my past life, which he got the wrong guy, not the guy he thought I was. But he was explaining that I was the last of my people, and I understood that I knew this, but I didn't understand how he knew this, especially just from looking at my appearance. I'm like, nigga, I could just be any crazy black guy, but you know what I'm talking about. And he was also explaining how he couldn't just give me the keys. He was also explaining that he couldn't just give me the money that came with the things I was asking for, which made me understand that there were people who were listening to what I was saying. It's just they couldn't directly address me in the manner that they want to because I am authority, and they fear giving me the crown, because if I get my crown, they understand what will happen to them. And so it's about procrastinating what it's not even procrastinating the inevitable, it's like delaying the inevitable is what they were trying to do. And so with this, as I was in the psych ward, they're playing a lot of mind games on me, trying to get me out of the headspace of knowing that I am who I am. And I'm not gonna lie, it did deteriorate me. It was genuinely a long ass time. I was in that bitch for like 2.5 weeks. Everybody, all the nurses sitting there asking me, when are you gonna go home? You don't do nothing. I don't know. Nobody's telling me nothing. They got me on hella medication and shit. I was like, bro, I'm just trying to get through. Fast forward, I end up back home. I'm scared. I'm fucking frail. Terrified of everything. I'm traumatized. Genuinely traumatized. And I understood that home is where all of this started. I understood that the things that I was learning about who I was started from home. Like, home is where this stuff starts, because people didn't know. Like, people knew about what I could do as a child, and that's the thing I didn't understand. And this is when I get into the trafficking part. And with the trafficking part, this is when I start understanding, wait a minute, if I have these abilities, then there must be somebody around me who's been watching over me, making sure I don't display these abilities, making sure I don't display my talents, making sure I don't actually I don't even know I have these talents, to make sure I don't do that. That individual was my mother. And not even just her, but a lot of people around me. And as I explain this, a lot of people have trying to figure out what it is that I'm actually after, what my dream actually is, what it is that I'm actually aspiring to do. Because I make music, I do art, I do a lot of public speaking, I do a lot of counseling. I don't do counseling, but I can counsel people. I can genuinely tell people about themselves, and I can also heal. I can also heal, but nobody ever gives me credit for that. But I can do a lot of shit. I have a lot of character traits that are genuinely amazing qualities. And with this, a lot of people try to steer me in every which direction, but the direction that says just be the authentic version of you. And that's what the world needs. And nobody's ever told me that, because the authentic version of me is a genuine leader. The authentic version of me is the person who's going to get up and say, hey, bro, it's time for change. The authentic version of me is going to be the person who's like, you know what? Put all this studying down, bro. Let's have some fun. Let's just enjoy life. Like, let's get to enjoying life. That's me. And people don't understand that about themselves. And so when they see it in me, it's a flame that gets sparked, that ignites something within them that makes them feel like they got to do more. It makes them feel like what they're doing is meaningless compared to the happiness and joy that I've seemed to get from having nothing. And it's something that they desire and they aspire to be. And to have that aspiration is to directly ask in the universe, can I have this change in my life? Can I see you step into my life in this way, universe? Because I admire what this individual is doing. And with that, I go back home. I'm back home, paranoid, uncomfortable. I start dissecting a lot of things. I start understanding a lot of things because a lot of people did tell me a lot of things about my home life that I didn't think anyone would ever know, and people shouldn't know, because why do you know about my home life if we're strangers? Stuff like that. And an individual did explain to me that my mother wasn't my mother, and that she was a nanny, or like a keeper or watcher, like a handler, basically. She was my handler. And with that, I didn't understand what this individual was talking about. I knew something was off about my mom. I knew my mother was cloned. I knew my mother had explained to me that she had dove into things where she had seen Satan and saw me and my siblings in hell with Satan after I healed her hands, and she understood, or after I healed her hands, and she explained to me as well that I would also be taken out like Dr. Sebi, for what I can do, this and this. And with that, I was like, huh? What do you mean? And I knew something was up. I knew something was up about who my mom was and what she actually dove into. And then this is when I started dissecting my childhood, and then I start understanding what energy harvesting is and the bigger scale of what all of this is. Because now I'm not about to get into the more bigger scale of what everything is. Okay, let's start this off. So the bigger scale of all of this is genuinely, is genuinely a big human trafficking ring to keep certain people from realigning into who they are and creating the reality that they desire. Genuinely, they understand, the people in control now understand that they don't have the power to manifest the future they desire. They understand that there are individuals who were sent to change timelines. There were individuals who were sent to help fix and adjust realities to become the higher version of themselves. And for these individuals to reincarnate and to actually cause impact, they got to come through a human vessel, or they have to come in a physical form. And in this physical form, as long as this motherfucker don't remember, because that's the part of it for everybody. Majority of everybody has amnesia, and majority of people don't trust their inner heart, so they can't even remember that little hints that they get from their soul. Part of this amnesia is, if I show you nothing of what you've lived through, you'll never remember. And that's part of the history. That's part of what our black history is. It's this question of who were we? It's like we can sit there and look at Egyptians and all these ancient civilizations and be like, yeah, that was us. But genuinely, we can sit there and have a disconnect because we're like, wait, something's still off. Something's still not here. When we read the Bible, it has the truth, but something's still missing. Even when we're in science class, there's truth, but something's still missing. What is missing? What's missing? And it's a lot that's missing. It's genuinely a lot that it's one thing that connects every single thing, from zombies to goddamn ghosts to fucking angels and goddamn tsunamis and the great floods and shit like that. All of this shit is connected, and even ancient civilizations. All of these things are connected. But if I never give you the information that links all of these connections together, it seems like these are all testimonies of random experiences that have no correlation. But they all do have correlation because these are all in our realm. And if these things are all in our realm, that means they're always all correlated because everything is connected. And so with these connection, it's understanding what is the connection. And the connection is, it's divinity. It's the divine. It's the understanding that the self is more than just vessel, understanding that the self is more than just a soul, understanding that the soul you are came to do more than just be the soul you are in your current reality, because your current reality doesn't match your soul mission. Why doesn't it match your soul mission? Because you are never here to just work. Why would I bring you to paradise to work? You're supposed to enjoy paradise. You're supposed to enjoy the fruits of paradise and create with the fruits of paradise. not create hell. And you guys have created hell, genuinely. And part of that understanding when I came to was when I started meditating and stuff like that. I got into meditation. I started looking into ancient technologies and stuff like that. But majority of people are disconnected from this type of information. I went and sought after this information because I wanted more. I wanted more for myself, and I knew there was more that I didn't have to do all this X, Y, and Z to get point A to match to point B. I'm like, why is it so hard to go from point A to point B when I know I should be able to go from point A to point Z? I know I should just be able to skip steps. I know there's no boundary between what is a step and what's not a step. I'm like, I know there's no boundary, so why can't I get this? And this is something I realized as a kid, or not, well, I realized that as a kid, but what I also realized older now is that there are people holding me back from actually doing that. And this is when people would tell me not to trust my first mind, or people would tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. And this is part of the household I grew up in. I grew up in a very abusive home, and this is part of my upbringing. I didn't understand that the abuse was actually planned. Like it's planned, like it's deliberate. And this also goes into the energy harvesting. When it comes to energy harvesting, certain entities, especially higher dimensional beings, they radiate a different frequency. And if you can capture that energy, you can manifest with that energy. And if you can manifest with that energy, you can create with that energy. And if you understand what creation is, you can take vibrations and you can turn them into physical objects. You can take energy and you can attract physical objects. You can make things come to you. This is a real thing, and this is why things are solid and things are not solid. It's because we have different vibrations going throughout the realms. Depending on your density, it's what makes you solid, what makes you perceivable. If your density is higher, you're not going to be perceived. And it goes into the light spectrum. You can say it's like the density of a wavelength. If a wavelength isn't as dense, wait, am I trying to say that? Density of a wavelength. More dense. I'm like, more dense wave moves slower. More dense wave moves like this. Not dense wave move like this. Why? Because it's less dense. It's easier to move through. It's easier to move through. With that, I have the ability to tap into these energies, and this is something I've always been able to do, but I didn't understand that getting my emotions riled up, getting my emotions stirred up is what made me so energetic. It's what made my abilities genuinely come out. And it's like when you watch the movies Monsters Inc., what do? They scare the kids to gain energy. This is what was happening for me. It's like my trafficking wasn't traditional. I'm like a battery. I'm like a battery that I'm like an imported battery, generally. Like, I've sat in my room growing up and cut the power off just from my energy. And I didn't understand why the power in my room would always go off. I thought there was a short circuit somewhere in the walls. But I noticed that once I moved out of that room, that issue stopped happening. And it's because when I get very emotional, it literally pours out of me. Like, the energy pours out of me, and it can spark up or like cause an arc in a system, like part of like static electricity. I build up a lot of static, like a lot of static, like a lot. And with that, I get monitored, and I didn't understand I was being monitored. But you got to understand that there are technologies that can sense UV radiation. Sometimes I do emit UV radiation. Sometimes I emit gamma rays. Sometimes I emit all types of frequencies. It's like I'm a sun. Like, I'm a sun. I can emit things that can come from the sun through my physical body because I've trained myself to do that. And it's genuinely not that hard of training if you're prepared mentally, which preparing mentally is the training. With that, what am I trying to say? I've been watched for this talent, and not only this talent, but the other talents I've also shown as a child, because in my elementary school, I went to a performing arts school, not knowing that these art schools were looking for kids who had talent. Why were they looking for kids who had talent? Because they knew that this talent is not normal. They knew that these abilities are not just normal. These are not just things that are not like, these are God-given gifts to creators. If you're a creator, you're going to be given the ability to create. And that's what I was given. Even with acting. Acting is a channeling. You're channeling a character. This character exists. You're turning into that person for a second. And that's a real thing. And with that, I didn't understand. I didn't even know that these were things that people were looking for. I didn't understand that these were things people sought after. I didn't know this energy was desirable, because my whole life I've been told that my energy was not desirable. And it got to the point where I felt like I should not exist. It got to the point where I felt like I shouldn't even be on the planet, because why? If I'm meaningless. Like, if my existence is meaningless. And that's only to get me in my head. That's only to get me in my emotions, because there are things feeding off of these negative emotions that are genuinely bringing sustenance to their soul from my emotions. And I wanted to explain that because there are a lot of people who may have been going through the same thing, who may not realize, it's like, wait, something's happening around me, but I don't see directly what's happening around me. Like, I've been victim to witchcraft as well. A lot of it, a lot of it is also sexual harassment as well, and abuse. These are things that my family also knew about, and things that my family also partook in, like partook in the activities of molesting me and, putting stuff in my food to knock me out, and not even just that, but also trying to kill me. It's a lot. A lot of people do a lot for money, and it's just the mindset of, I don't have anything, so you're telling me if this kid who's not even mine, you're telling me if I kill him, I'll get money. It's like, I'll never be poor again. It's like, yeah. It's like, all right, I'm down. And a lot of people would accept that offer. You'd be surprised how many people would accept that offer just from money. And I think it's ridiculous. I personally think it's ridiculous. But as I'm saying this, fuck off. A little bug flew on me. As I'm saying this, what am I trying to say? Energy harvesting. People following me. Oh yeah. So I'm back home, dealing with home, and I'm partly traumatized from the things I had been through, and partly traumatized from the things that I'm about to face. Because I knew being back at home, I need to reanalyze, because I knew I was in a stage of isolation, because I was getting ready for the abundance that was coming into my life. And to get ready for this abundance that was coming into my life, I needed to rid myself of everything that was not keen to keeping me growing. And part of that was the information of thinking that my parents were just my parents, because these people were never my parents, and these people were never out to keep me safe. They gave me plenty of examples that they were out to harm me. They gave me plenty of examples that they would let me die given the situation. And they have given me examples of them genuinely trying to kill me. And as crazy as it may sound, these are my truths. These are the things that I've experienced. And there's nothing I can really do about it except explain to you guys that, hey, there are people who are in their family homes, and these people were never their family. They are people who will dress themselves up to be someone they are not, and they will go like that their entire life. It's like a code of secrecy. Like, they will never speak on these things. And I've had confirmation on the things that I'm saying, because I ended up taking another trip to the psych ward because of what I was saying to my mother, because it was one morning I woke up and I was getting all these downloads and I couldn't take it anymore, because it was pissing me off, because I was like, well, you're telling me that this person's not my mom, then where's my mom? Like, you're telling me this, like, none of these people were my actual family, then where's my family? And then I start looking at family pictures and stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't even look like these people. Like, I actually don't look like these people. Like, I don't look related to these people at all. Like, I look here. I look out of place. And it would remind me of all the times where people would be like, "What's your ethnicity? Where are you from? This is this. You can't be from out here." And it was one of those things where, as a kid, I would always be like, "What? What do you mean I can't be from out here?" Like, I didn't understand that there were other places where people genuinely look like me, and I didn't understand that there were like, I thought the diversity in my household was a normal thing, which it's not, because we are not all from the same people. With that, damn, I'm remembering some other shit. My bad. Give me a second. Let me gather my thoughts. Where am I trying to go? Okay, with that, I understand what's going on at home. I understand what I'm looking at. I start looking at what I'm looking at home. Oh, yeah, why I ended up in the psych ward. Literally, I woke up, saw my mom. She was the first person who was in my face, and I genuinely couldn't take it, because I was like, bruh, you know you're not my mom. And the thing is, before I even went off on her about this, I had a conversation with her. It wasn't a conversation. I had talked to her. It was like talking to a wall. But I had sat there and I told her, I was like, you know you're not my mom. And